You know how cruise ships feel like floating playgrounds where the rules barely apply? Well, some passengers have been pushing those limits a little too far, sneaking drinks, hoarding lobster tails, blasting music in public spaces, and now, cruise lines are cracking down. In this video, I'm breaking down 19 new rules that cruise lines had to roll out in 2025. Some of them might feel like they're taking the fun out of your vacation, at least in certain situations, but a few of these changes actually work in your favor, and trust me, you'll want to know which ones before you sail. Most of these updates popped up within the past year, but I'll also cover a couple of bigger shifts that have been brewing a little longer. And fair warning, rule no. 11 is the one longtime cruisers argue about the most. So grab a drink, yes, one that's allowed, and let's dive in. And hey, if you find this helpful or even just entertaining, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps keep the channel sailing forward. Remember when you could roll onto the ship on Embarkation Day with an entire case of bottled water, slap a luggage tag on it, and the porters would kindly deliver it straight to your cabin? Those days are gone. Cruise lines now ban passengers from bringing on cases of bottled water. This rule has been around a few years, but in 2025, it's being enforced more consistently than ever. So what's the deal? To big reasons. First, the environment. Cruise lines are under massive pressure to cut down on single-use plastics. Thousands of bottles per sailing add up fast, and ships are trying to reduce that waste. Second, passengers gaming the system. Too many people were filling water bottles with vodka, rum, or whatever they wanted to sneak on board. The cruise lines caught on and the free-for-all ended. But don't worry, you can still bring your own refillable bottle, and the water on board is perfectly safe to drink. In fact, some lines even allow you to carry on canned sodas or juices as long as they're sealed. So while you might miss the convenience of tossing a case of water in with your luggage, this change keeps things greener. If you're a loyal Royal Caribbean cruiser, especially at the Diamond or Diamond Plus level, this one's going to sting a little. For years, you got 4 or 5 free drink vouchers every single day. And plenty of people figured out a little trick. Instead of drinking it right there, you'd grab a sealed beer or soda, bring it back to your cabin, and stockpile them for later. Well, Royal Caribbean just changed the rules. Now, if you order a drink with one of those vouchers, the bartender has to open it before handing it to you. No more walking off with unopened cans or bottles to stash in your mini fridge. Why? A couple of reasons. Some passengers were saving them up, some were sharing with friends who didn't qualify, and in the worst cases, people were handing alcohol to underage cruisers. Royal wanted to shut all that down before it got messy. Of course, not everyone's happy. Many frequent cruisers argue, if I earn the vouchers, why can't I use them how I want? And honestly, they have a point, but the cruise line sees it as a matter of control and making sure those perks aren't abused. Bottom line, if you're sailing with Royal in 2025, enjoy your freebies while you can. Just know they won't be waiting for you in your cabin fridge anymore. Believe it or not, there was a time when passengers could light up right on their balcony. That all changed back in 2006 after a devastating fire on the Star Princess was traced back to a cigarette that landed on fabric. From that moment, most major cruise lines banned smoking on balconies for good. Now, in 2025, that rule is tighter than ever. Every cruise line enforces it with heavy fines and even the possibility of being kicked off the ship if you break it. Instead, ships now have clearly marked smoking zones, well ventilated, often tucked away on upper decks, designed to keep everyone safe. And it's not just about rules. Cruise lines also redesigned their ships to prevent accidents. They've replaced flammable balcony dividers with safer materials, installed sprinklers, and even trained cabin stewards to pull in any towels or clothing you leave outside when you're not around. It might feel inconvenient for smokers, but one stray spark could threaten thousands of lives at sea. So if you really need a smoke, just head to the designated area. Every cruise line already has a list of restricted items, But in 2025, a few new things have made the cut, especially on Carnival ships. First up, Bluetooth speakers. These used to be fine inside your own cabin, but too many people carried them into public areas and cranked up the volume. The result, noise complaints and a ban across the board. Next, Wi-Fi routers and portable Starlink units. Passengers brought them on board, hoping for faster internet, but they can interfere with the ship's own communication systems. On land, that's an inconvenience. At sea, it's a safety issue. And then there are multi-plug outlets. In the past, only surge-protected ones were banned, while basic non-surge versions were still allowed. But Royal Caribbean has now banned all multi-plug outlets, only permitting USB charging hubs. The reason is simple. It's hard to tell surge-protected and non-surge outlets apart, and with everyone trying to charge multiple devices at once, the risk of overheating is just too high. Banning them altogether was the safest option. So before you pack for your next cruise, double-check the updated banned items list. What was fine last year might get confiscated at the terminal this year. Here's something you might notice on your next cruise, especially if you're sailing out of Miami with Carnival. Sniffer dogs right at embarkation. Now, dogs have always been used behind the scenes to check luggage in the loading areas, but what's new is that passengers are seeing them front and center, walking right past their bags as they board. Why the extra visibility? Even though certain substances have become legal in many U.S. states, cruise ships sail under federal law, and more importantly, they visit international ports where local rules are much stricter. That means what you can legally carry at home could get you fined, arrested, or banned once you step on board. The message is clear: don't try to sneak anything through. These dogs are trained to catch it before you even get your welcome drink, and the cruise line won't hesitate to deny boarding or put you off at the next port. It might feel intimidating to see a dog sniffing your carry-on, but in the end, it's about keeping the ship safe and making sure your vacation doesn't end before it begins. Cruisers love showing appreciation for the crew, and sometimes it means bringing a little something from home, like homemade cookies, cakes, or muffins. Sounds sweet, right? Well, not anymore. Cruise lines now have a strict policy. No homemade food is allowed to be given to crew members. Prepackaged snacks like candy or chips are fine, but anything baked or prepared at home is off limits. Why the hard rule? A couple of incidents in the past tell the story. Crew members accepted food from kind passengers only to end up sick afterward. Beyond that, it puts the staff in an awkward position. Saying no feels rude, but saying yes could put their health at risk. Carnival's brand ambassador, John Heald, has reminded guests that homemade food is not allowed to be given to crew members. Homemade muffins may come from the heart, but on a ship, they're a no-go. So if you're planning to say thanks, think store-bought snacks or a kind note. Finally, some good news for passengers, because not every new rule feels like a crackdown. Thanks to California's honest pricing law, cruise lines are now required to show the full fare upfront, including port fees and taxes, when advertising to California residents. And here's the bonus: rather than making one state the exception, most major lines, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Princess, Carnival, MSC, Disney, decided to roll this out nationwide. That means when you shop for cruises in 2025, you'll see the real price right on the website, not a too good to be true fare that suddenly balloons at checkout. Now, to be clear, this doesn't include add-ons like drink packages, shore excursions, or gratuities. But it does mean no more sticker shock when you get to the payment page. For travelers, it feels like a win. Instead of playing guessing games with hidden fees, you know exactly what you're paying from the start and can plan your vacation budget without any nasty surprises. Carnival has introduced a new rule that directly affects guests using mobility scooters. From now on, a scooter must fit through a standard cabin doorway, which measures about 22 inches wide. If the scooter is larger than that, the guest must book an accessible cabin with wider doors. Otherwise, Carnival reserves the right to deny boarding. The reason is safety. Oversized scooters can block hallways, slow down evacuations, and create hazards for other passengers. On a crowded ship, even a small obstruction can quickly become a serious problem. To make things easier, Carnival partners with Scootaround, a rental service that provides scooters. Designed to meet the size requirements, passengers can book directly through Scootaround, and the scooter will be delivered to the ship, so it's ready at embarkation. For anyone planning to bring a scooter, checking the measurements before you book is crucial. Taking care of it ahead of time means no unpleasant surprises at the port. If you've ever walked out to the pool deck only to see every lounger reserved with a towel, but hardly anyone actually sitting there, you know the frustration. Cruise lines call this the chair hog problem, and in 2025, they're cracking down harder than ever. On Royal Caribbean, crew members now place warning cards on unattended chairs. If the seat stays empty for more than 30 minutes, staff will collect the belongings and move them to the towel station. Carnival and a few other lines follow a similar system, giving passengers about 40 minutes before clearing the chair. The goal isn't to punish anyone. It's about fairness. Too many people were claiming spots first thing in the morning and disappearing for hours, leaving other guests wandering around with no place to sit. So if you want that perfect lounger by the pool, the rule is simple: use it, don't hoard it. Leave your towel behind for too long, and you may come back to find someone else happily sunbathing in what used to be your spot. Cruise vacations and cocktails by the pool go hand in hand. But in 2025, there's a new line in the sand. Drinks are no longer allowed inside pools or jacuzzis, even if they're in plastic cups. Most people already know glassware is a big no-no around the pool because of the danger if it breaks. But now, some cruise lines are banning drinks in the water altogether. On a recent MSC sailing, guests were told to step out of the pool just to sip from their plastic cups. Why the rule? Part of it is cleanliness. Spilled drinks mix with pool water fast, and nobody wants to swim in a sticky cocktail. Others suggest it's about hygiene in general. Let's just say cruise lines already have enough problems with people treating pools like their personal bathrooms, and drinks don't help the situation. Whatever the reason, the message is clear: enjoy your margarita or mojito poolside, but not in the water. It keeps things safer, cleaner, and honestly a lot less gross for everyone. This is the rule that's causing the most debate among longtime cruisers: limits on how much you can order in the main dining room. In the past, the beauty of cruise dining was that you could order as many appetizers, entrees, or desserts as you wanted. 2 lobster tails, 3 steaks, no problem. But in 2025, cruise lines are starting to draw the line. Carnival now allows to main courses for free, but once you hit a third, it comes with a $5 surcharge. MSC has introduced the same fee. Other lines have stopped offering lobster night for free altogether, moving it to the specialty dining menu instead. And on ships that still serve lobster, ordering a second tail will cost you extra. Why the change? Cruise lines point to 2 main reasons: reducing food waste and cutting costs. Too many passengers were ordering 4 or 5 entrees just to take a bite and leave the rest behind. Multiply that by thousands of guests each night, and the waste was staggering. The good news: you'll never go hungry on a cruise. If you order a dish and don't like it, you can still swap it for another without paying more. Drink packages are one of the most popular add-ons at sea. Pay a flat fee and suddenly every cocktail, beer, soda, or latte feels free. But here's the catch: in 2025, cruise lines are enforcing a strict no-sharing policy. That means if one person in a cabin buys the drink package, everyone in that cabin over the legal drinking age has to buy it too, even if one person barely drinks. Why so strict? Because too many passengers were trying to game the system. One person would buy the package, then hand drinks off to their cabin mate or even to friends under 21. Cruise lines caught on, and the solution was simple: all or nothing. Either everyone in the cabin buys the package, or no one does. It's a rule that frustrates a lot of travelers, especially couples where only one person drinks. But from the cruise line's perspective, it protects revenue and keeps alcohol out of underage hands. So before you book that tempting package, make sure it actually makes sense for everyone in your cabin. Cruise ships want to be fun for all ages, but lately late-night chaos has been creeping in, especially with unsupervised teens roaming the decks after midnight. Carnival decided enough was enough. As of 2025, passengers under 18 have a strict curfew. They must leave public areas by 1 a.m. unless they're with a parent or participating in an official, supervised activity. Why the change? To many incidents of groups hanging out in hallways, running, shouting, and generally disturbing other guests well into the night. While it might feel harmless to them, to the families trying to sleep a few doors down, it's anything but relaxing. This new curfew sets a clear boundary. Teens still get plenty of fun, youth clubs, late-night activities, and supervised events, but the rule helps cut down on noise and keeps things safer on board. Parents should take note too. If your teenager thinks the ship is their all-night playground, they might come back to the cabin earlier than expected. At first glance, banning hand fans might sound a little over the top. After all, what harm could a simple folding fan do? But on Carnival ships, the rule is now crystal clear. Certain hand fans are not allowed during onboard events. This policy mainly applies to large, non-battery fans often used during nightclub or dance events. Why the restriction? Safety. In crowded venues, fans can block sightlines, distract performers, or even injure someone if waved too aggressively on a packed dance floor. There's also a fire safety angle. Some fans are made with sharp metal edges or materials that can splinter, which cruise lines see as a potential hazard in tight indoor spaces. Of course, you can still bring a small, battery-powered fan to cool off in your cabin or while lounging on deck. But those oversized, theatrical hand fans that make a dramatic clack when snapped open? Leave them at home or risk having them confiscated at Embarkation. It's one of those quirky rules that makes sense once you imagine 100. Not exactly the kind of breeze Carnival wants on board. This one surprises a lot of first-time cruisers. Even though cannabis is legal in many US states, it is completely banned on cruise ships. Why? Two reasons. First, cruise lines operate under federal law, not state law, and federally, cannabis is still illegal. Second, ships travel internationally, docking in countries where possession can carry serious penalties. What's fine in Colorado or California could land you in jail in the Bahamas or Mexico. That means no edibles, no CBD oils, no vape pens, and no just a little for sleep. Cruise lines have zero tolerance. If you're caught, the consequences are harsh, fines being removed from the ship at your own expense, and in some cases, a permanent ban from sailing with that line. It may feel unfair, especially if you use CBD for medical reasons, but on a cruise ship, the rules are strict and non-negotiable if you need sleep aids or pain relief. In 2025, Carnival and Royal Caribbean made a big change that's going to affect younger travelers. You now have to be at least 21 years old to cruise without an accompanying adult on most itineraries in North America. In the past, some cruise lines allowed 18-year-olds to sail solo, depending on the route. But after a string of late-night incidents, alcohol-related problems, and concerns about how younger passengers might handle emergencies, the policy has been unified. 21 is now the magic number. Here's how it works. When booking online or checking in at the port, you'll need to confirm your age. If you're under 21 and traveling without a guardian, you may be denied boarding unless an adult is added to the reservation. There are a few exceptions in Europe, where the minimum remains 18. But in North America, the rule is strictly enforced. For cruise lines, it's partly about safety and partly about liability. Underage drinking, unsupervised behavior, and legal complications can put both passengers and crew in tough situations. By raising the solo travel age to 21, The cruise lines hope to cut down on these risks while keeping the onboard experience smoother for everyone. So if you're under 21 and dreaming of a solo cruise, you'll need to bring a parent, guardian, or older travel buddy along. After the COVID-19 pandemic, cruise lines learned the hard way how quickly illness can spread in a crowded environment. That's why the industry is moving toward a new requirement. Every passenger must submit a health declaration at least 48 hours before boarding. This online form would ask about recent symptoms, exposure to infectious diseases, and even vaccination records if you're sailing to high-risk regions. Think of it as part of your digital check-in process, just like uploading your passport or choosing your boarding time. Some lines are already testing the waters. Virgin Voyages asks guests to complete a health form 24 hours in advance, and Norwegian Cruise Line integrates health and customs questions into their screening system. Luxury lines like Explorer Journeys are also trialing similar declarations to improve onboard medical support. The goal isn't to scare people off, it's about prevention. Catching potential issues before passengers step on board can stop an outbreak before it starts, keeping thousands of travelers safe and giving everyone more peace of mind. Now, here's the important part. As of September 2025, this hasn't yet become an official industry-wide policy for Carnival, Royal Caribbean, or MSC. But many experts expect it could roll out by late 2025 or early 2026, especially if the CDC or international health authorities push for stricter maritime guidelines. So don't be surprised if, on your next cruise, the check-in email doesn't just ask for your passport, it also wants to know if you've had a cough, fever, or close contact with anyone sick in the past week. Drones may be fun to fly, but on cruise ships, they've become a big no-no. As of 2025, passengers are not allowed to bring or operate drones on board. The only exception is using them onshore, in ports where local authorities give the green light. And it's not just drones under the spotlight. Cruise lines are also tightening rules on large professional camera equipment, big DSLRs with bulky tripods or stabilizers. These setups are now restricted to designated areas to protect both safety and privacy. The reason is clear. Drones can interfere with maritime radio frequencies, pose serious risks in the ship's tight spaces, and let's be honest, nobody wants to sunbathe by the pool with a buzzing drone overhead. Oversized camera rigs, on the other hand, can block walkways, disrupt events, and make other passengers feel like extras in someone else's film shoot. If a passenger brings a drone, it will be confiscated at embarkation and returned only at the end of the cruise, unless there's an approved professional permit. Large photography gear must be registered in advance and can only be used in specific areas. Professional photographers working under contract remain the exception. The benefit is twofold: fewer safety hazards and more peace of mind for. Cruise lines are going greener in 2025, and that means a new kind of fee is showing up on some ships, a sustainability surcharge for passengers who choose single-use products. We're talking about a small charge, usually $2 to $5 per voyage, if you stick with disposable water bottles instead of refilling, or if you opt out of eco-friendly amenities like organic soaps. Why the extra cost? The cruise industry is under pressure to reduce plastic waste and embrace sustainability. Carnival has already phased out most single-use plastics, switching to biodegradable materials, and other lines are following suit. The money collected from these surcharges goes toward ocean conservation projects, cleaner fuels, and waste reduction programs. How does it work? The charge appears automatically if you request single-use items at guest services, through the app, or even at bars and dining venues. If you use refillable bottles or reusable options, there's no extra fee. Some lines, like Royal Caribbean, are exploring ways to build this directly into their booking systems, tying the revenue to bigger green initiatives. The benefit goes beyond the environment. It encourages sustainable habits, lowers long-term operating costs, and boosts the cruise line's image in a world where global regulations on waste are getting tougher every year. And surveys show younger travelers actually welcome the change. They're willing to pay a little more to keep the oceans they love sailing on cleaner. So there you have it, 19 new cruise rules in 2025 that every passenger should know before stepping on board. Some of them feel like they take a little fun away, like limits on dining or stricter drink package rules. Others are all about safety, like curfews for teens, scooter restrictions, and the total ban on cannabis. And then there are the changes that push cruising forward, like transparent pricing and sustainability surcharges, which can actually make the experience better in the long run. One thing is clear, cruise lines aren't just inventing rules to be difficult. They're trying to balance fun, safety, and fairness while managing the realities of running a floating city that sails across international waters. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 19 rules do you agree with, and which ones do you think go too far? Share your thoughts in the comments. I have a feeling this is going to be a lively debate. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your cruise buddies. That way, you'll always be up to date on the latest rules, tips, and secrets that can make or break your next voyage. Until next time, happy cruising and may your next trip be smooth sailing, with no surprises at embarkation.